Welcome back, everyone, to episode 54 of the Minot Business Podcast, presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, and on the show today, we have Lexi Miller. How are you today, Lexi? The second Miller on the show.
Yes, I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. We had your dad on the show. I don't even know what episode it was, so it's kind of cool to go full circle here. Before we get started, if you have not already, please rate and review the show. If you could take 5 seconds to leave us a rating review, it really helps spread the word to new audiences and attract new guests for you guys each week. So, Lexi, let's get right into it. For the people that don't know, they have no idea what you do. What are you going to tell them if you bump into them in a grocery store?
I am the owner of Knead for Sweets here in Minot.
So what does Knead for Sweets do, for someone who doesn't know?
Yes, it is a pastry business. So I operate out of my house and I deliver. We can do pickups for different pastries and all of those kind of items.
So pastries, makes me think of like a French world when I think of pastries, but what does that include? So I know you do cakes for sure. Is that your main thing, or what's kind of your main thing?
I honestly do a little bit of everything. Okay. So cakes, cupcakes, tarts, cookies, all of that. So I have a pastry arts degree. Okay. So that's why I do call it pastries. Since I have that degree.
Pastry arts degree. So how do you even get that? Where do you get that from?
I went to culinary school in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. And I chose that school because I could specialize in pastries instead of doing all of the other stuff because I can't cook. Yeah. So I wanted to just do the pastries.
Okay. So what's the difference between that? Cooking, are we talking like real meals, and then pastries is more so the baking side of things?
Yes. Yeah. So we could see the other side of the school. So they'd be like cooking chicken and like learning all the spices and making fresh pasta. Okay. And then on our side, it was like all the doughs, all the cupcakes, all the cookies, all of that.
Yeah. So that was more fun for you when you were going to school.
For sure.
Okay. So when you decided, we'll get into kind of the schooling aspect of things, but the origin story of baking, have you always just liked baking and making these sorts of desserts, or when did that start to be kind of your thing? Yeah.
So pretty much my entire life, I've wanted to bake. I grew up baking with my grandmas for holidays, and it kind of just went from there, from like baking classes in school. And then I kind of just like knew I wanted to go to culinary school. And my goal was to always like open a cupcake shop or a cupcake food truck. And then I went to school and I was like, not my favorite thing.
Cupcakes, not your favorite thing. Okay. Yeah. So do you have a favorite then?
I love tarts.
Okay.
So that's the thing that really helped with school, is I discovered all of these things that I had no idea were a thing. Because like growing up in North Dakota, we didn't have all those options years ago. Yeah. So going there, I kind of broadened my horizons.
So this might be a little naive. You got to explain what a tart is to me.
So basically, it's like a sugar cookie in a tart form, and then I do fruit tarts, which is my favorite, and it's filled with like a pastry cream and topped with fruit. Some people top it with like cream cheese frosting.
So it's almost like a little mini pie.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you got to Boulder. Why did you decide to go to Boulder? Were you looking at other schools, other culinary places to go to?
Yes. So the reason I chose Boulder is, how I had said that I can specialize in just pastries. Okay. The other ones were like 2 years long, and you had to do all these other things with it. And this one was quick, straight to the point, and I got to do what I wanted to do.
So when did you know in your, was it high school that you're like, I want to go to culinary school, or when did you kind of figure that process out?
Yes, I think it was about sophomore year. I kind of decided that this really was the path that I wanted to go. And I had been looking at pastry schools throughout the years. And in my culinary arts class, senior year, one of my classmates actually went to the school with me. She did the culinary side, so we were roommates, and it was nice to have somebody there that I knew.
So did you kind of realize when she was doing the culinary side, like the food side, you're like, that's not for me?
100%. Yeah. She would bring stuff home from class, and it was good. Yeah. But like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to make that. Yeah.
You're like, you guys should partner together. She can make the main meal, and then you throw on the little topper, and then you're good to go. So did this stem from, high school where you're taking a lot of food for you classes, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure.
So did you take any business classes in high school then?
I did. Yeah, I took like entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff, which also did help with wanting to own my own business.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to go into next is, wanting to own your own business. A lot of people go into their specific skill or industry, whatever it is, but they don't get the business side of things. So did you kind of know that the business aspect was something down the road that you wanted to try to tackle?
I think growing up in a family with business owners really wanted me, like I really wanted to have my own. Okay. And even in school, our chefs would tell us like, nobody really wants to own a bakery. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You don't want to do it, which kind of discouraged me a little bit. Yeah. So once I came home and did my internship, I was like, you know what? I kind of do want to do this by myself.
Okay. So then you kind of knew from the beginning, just with your family, that you wanted to start a business one day.
Yes.
So then when you're there in Boulder and your professors are saying not to own a bakery, what is the alternative option if you're not going to do that? Just go work at a bakery or?
Yeah, work for somebody else. So the requirement for graduation is we had to do an internship.
Okay.
And so I did mine at Prairie Sky Breads.
Okay.
So a lot of the time people were like, people love working for other people. It's not a bad gig. And I was like, that's not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you worked at Prairie Sky Breads. I'm sure it was fine, but did you realize, you just wanted to run the whole operation, or what was the deciding factor there?
I think I kind of always wanted to own my own, and I was just discouraged a little bit at school.
Okay.
And then being at Prairie Sky, like I loved them there. I loved the way they ran their business and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I would love to do this.
Isn't the baking industry, don't you have to get up at like the ass crack of dawn?
Yeah. So there I did. But now that I choose my own hours, I start at like 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, that's smart because, I think we had Sarah Massey on here from Guilty Sweets,
Yep.
and what did she say? She got up at like 3 a.m. or something like that?
There's some mornings where I have orders in the morning and I have to get up at like 6, which is miserable.
Yeah.
But I really choose to like get up at 10. I do have to bake later, but it's better than getting up early.
So the clients, customers you have then, are they, obviously you're doing day of stuff where you're delivering it the day of, but are a lot of them nighttime events, or what are these things that you're creating these desserts for?
So I do a lot of weekend events.
Okay.
So like baby showers, bridal showers, weddings, all that stuff is always on the weekends.
Yeah.
So my weekend is like Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I do all those kinds of parties.
And then it's kind of just whatever they want, cake, cupcakes, tarts, whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of the time they'll send me like inspo pics, and sometimes I have people like give me creative freedom. They're like, I just want 100 cupcakes. You choose flavor, design, whatever.
Okay, so going into the design aspect a little bit then, because that's one of the things that's interesting. You're not just creating, here's a red velvet cake, it's got white frosting, take it away. You're actually designing these. So talk to me a little bit about the designs. What side of that are you bringing to the customer?
So a lot of the time when they do give an inspo pic, I don't like to copy other people's work. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to go off of that a little bit. And I've never been someone that was huge into art.
Yeah.
Like I was horrible at art, never took an art class, anything. So I've kind of learned through the process how to make it my own and just like have my own signature style with it.
Are there any specific ways that you've learned? Do you watch YouTube videos? Are you taking courses?
Yeah, a lot of TikToks.
Okay.
TikTok has really helped. Just like looking through YouTube, looking through Pinterest, all these things. Like you kind of just put a little bit of everything together.
Is it more so when you're researching, are you researching the actual techniques on how to do these things? Or is it more so just the idea side of it where it's like, oh, I didn't realize I could do an idea like this? Or are you actually figuring out? Because I assume it's a lot harder to be creating art on food rather than just, pen to paper.
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit of both.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll see something that somebody had made on TikTok and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I want to try that.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm like, I just really can't get this down. And then I see a video and I'm like, oh, that's how they do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of both, learning from other people.
So when you're creating, actually we'll go into that a little bit down the road because I got a few more questions on that. But let's pivot back to the business side now. So you mentioned business running in the family. I know Dustin, your father has a business. Was that the only business, or what is the businesses in the family that have kind of inspired you to want to run your own business?
Yeah. So like my mom for a while was running Solid Core in town, and now she runs United Way. And it kind of just gave that idea of like how you should treat people that work for you and all this kinds of things that kind of helped me along the way.
Okay. So how did you learn from them running these businesses then? How do you think that played off into how you run your business now?
Yeah, so I saw how they had treated people, the way they had marketed, the way they had like gotten their name out there, got along with other businesses in town, and that kind of inspired me to do that also because it's huge to like have a community around you.
So would you say they're kind of your mentors, you could say?
Yes.
Did you have any mentors or I was going to say the female version of mentors, but I think it's all mentors.
I think it's all mentors,
Did you have any mentors outside of your family members, so outside of your mom and dad, that maybe helped you more on the baking side of things?
Yeah, so a lot of that was in school.
Okay.
So I had amazing chefs there, and then a lot of classmates who have been in the industry for quite a while that just wanted more in-depth learning, so they went to school. So a lot of the time I'm still texting them. I'm like, oh, I need this. Like,
Yeah.
what should I do for this? And they help me along with that.
So the people at school, it wasn't all, 18 to 22 years
Yeah.
olds.
So I was one of the youngest people.
Really?
So there was like 2 or 3 of us straight out of high school. The rest were 25, 30. There was like a 45-year-old. It was kind of just people wanting to learn more.
I was going to say, I wonder why they went there. I suppose they're just like, let's go learn how to bake a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Did a lot of them were they already running bakeries or businesses before, or were they just like, hey, I want to start a new career path?
There was one that had already owned her own like little cupcake shop, like out of her house. The rest had kind of just worked in bakeries, or they had gotten a degree in something else. And they're just like, you know what? I really love baking and I don't want to do psychology.
Yeah. Which is just two vastly different things. So what do you think the importance of mentors is? Because I know when I was starting my business, I didn't necessarily have someone that I would ask a ton of questions as far as video specific, because it's so, small in Minot where we're from. But what do you think the importance of those mentors is, and how maybe do you find them?
I think it's so important because if you don't know something, it's so nice to have somebody there that is just willing to help you. I think the best way to find them is just going in the industry.
Yeah.
And finding different little outlets of all these people that can help you in little different ways.
Yeah, because I suppose Prairie Sky Breads, you didn't mention them as like a quote unquote mentor, but I'm sure you learned a lot working there.
Yes, I did.
So do you think experience is the best teacher then?
For me, experience is definitely the best teacher.
What did you learn at Prairie Sky Breads that you've taken into Knead for Sweets now?
I learned so much there. One, I learned how to treat people. Like, they are amazing to all of their staff. And I learned kind of like the timelines of everything. Okay. So I was always really bad about timelines, procrastination, which I'm still learning. But they're really good about like, this has to be done by this certain time. And that really helped me with like time-wise of how to plan out my stuff.
So do you think, I know a lot of people have this preconceived notion in their head of, if I'm going to start a business, I have to just go start a business and run and figure it out on my own. Whereas you can go work under somebody and learn that. Do you think that shortens that learning curve, or what's your experience there?
Honestly, I preferred working for other people and going to different classes, going to school, you could absolutely start from the start. But I think with all the mentors that I had and my dad helping me so much along the way with like literally everything, it really helped me.
Yeah. And that's one thing I want to get across to people is, you can go work under someone. That's one thing I wish I could have worked for a bigger video company and learned the intricacies of these bigger sets that I've had to learn on my own. But you shouldn't be scared to go work for someone and learn what they know. And then you just have that one step forward when you start your own thing. So talking about your education business-wise, then you kind of mastered the baking side, going to school. You said you took some high school business classes, but where did that learning come into play on the business side? I know you mentioned your dad. Did he kind of walk you through a lot of that?
Yeah, so my dad has helped tremendously, and it was nice. I didn't have to jump through as many hoops as a lot of newer people do. He helped me with getting insurance and getting like my business with the state and all these other things, which really helped. And then with the business classes, I had taken the ones with Berg. And writing like the business plans and all this stuff had really put into perspective what work goes into actually owning a business. Yeah. And it had really helped that come to life. Because
it's a lot more than you think. So what would you say to the people that don't really know? Obviously, you don't have 50 employees working under you. So what is it like running a one-woman ship, you could say, and keeping things afloat every single day?
It's not the easiest thing. It's definitely rewarding. But it's tiring at times, and you kind of just have to push through it. Like, there's days where I think last weekend it was like a 40-hour day. Yeah. Which it's not a day. It was just 40 hours straight. Yeah. But it's tiring, but it's rewarding. Getting to see like all of your customers and clients and people come back and people talk about you at weddings. It's worth it.
I feel like that's the the side people don't talk about. They talk about the glamorous side, like, oh, I can get on a plane and go to wherever, whenever I want, which I'll be doing. I'll be in Vegas when this episode's out weekend, now, actually. So, but yeah, they see the glamorous side of things when you can go out there, you can do whatever you want, take as many vacations you want, you can make your own schedule, but then they don't see the things like, okay, I got to work a 40-hour week or a 40-hour day, you could say, just 40 hours straight. And it's not for a lot of people. So how would you tell people that to kind of get them prepared if they are thinking about going into business?
I think that if you're willing to put in the effort, that you'll succeed, because sometimes I don't get to take a vacation because I have people, like I have weddings in December that are booked out. So I can't take a Christmas vacation and stuff like that. But if you're willing to put in the work, it's definitely worth the effort.
Okay. So then to those same people, talking to those same people, what would you say to them that they don't have a business degree, but they maybe are really good at something? Can they still start a business? And what would be your advice to those people that might not have a business degree and they're like, I got to have a business degree to start my business? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to just go for it. Like, you don't need that degree. You don't need the business degree. Just go for it and learn along the way. I've learned so much in the last couple of years and learned so much from other people in town that had nothing to do with baking.
Yeah.
Just the way that they run things. Just put yourself out there and have a lot of connections and you can make it.
I feel like it is a lot about just going out there and learning things. And like we said before, learning through experience. You're going to learn, even someone in the insurance industry, you might learn that you can apply to your baking business. I want to talk about Knead for Sweets, the name. How did the name come about?
To be honest, I Googled baking words.
Okay.
And I kind of just like sat there for a while and I was like, I don't know what to do because I don't want to get the wrong name. It was so hard, but I was like, whatever, we're just going to do this.
Yeah. And it fits now. I like it.
Yeah.
You got the play on words with the kneading. So I do like it. Are there any stories in the beginning? What was we didn't talk about that a lot. What was the feeling like in the beginning? Were you nervous when you started a business? Were you scared? Like, how do I make this work? Or what were your emotions like?
I was a little bit less nervous because I didn't jump into just baking.
Okay.
So I had worked at the coffee shop with Jada, and then I had left there and worked at a chiropractic office, and I was still serving a little bit.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just by myself. And then when I finally did leave all those places and I was just baking, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was like, it's so hard with baking to tell. And I'm sure you understand too, where like I could have an order in 2 weeks and not know about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to calculate how much you're going to make. So it's hard to leave.
Yeah.
And it's nerve-wracking, but
that's the financial uncertainty is probably the biggest thing of why people struggle to start their own businesses or go full time in that business, because you're not really sure, but you do have to take a risk. How did you battle those mental emotions that you had and overcome that so you did take that leap of faith, you could say?
I kind of just went for it. I was like, if I want to do this, I have to do it now.
Yeah.
And I can't just keep pushing it back.
So you've got from that point where you went full time and now obviously you've grown. What does that growth look like? Are you, how have you grown it? How have you made it more sustainable to maybe alleviate some of that stress where you're like, oh man, because I assume there's probably some of that stress still here and there.
Yeah.
But how do you handle that growth?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen overnight and it kind of just progressively went, and it's a lot of word of mouth. So if you do a bad thing for somebody, everybody's going to hear about it.
Yep.
So you have to put out work that you're confident in, and it definitely takes time. And I'm still learning to say no to people.
Yep.
Overbooking is a really bad issue with the first couple years because you don't want to say no to people. It's really hard.
Especially baking.
Yeah.
Like that's not something that's like time specific. It's like, I can't make 48 cakes today.
Yeah. That's the hardest part is like everyone wants something Saturday morning. I can't make 40 cakes Saturday at 2 a.m. It just can't happen.
Okay, that makes sense. I want to go a little bit into how you got into that side and the marketing aspect. But before that, we're going to hear from this week's sponsor, Midco. Is your business moving up and to the right? Put Midco's business technology to work for you so you never have a slow day at the office. From premium internet and phone plans to custom private networking and advertising, they have a solution for every type of business, large or small. Get paired with an account representative to create your suite of services and make the switch with ease with dedicated business client fulfillment and support teams. No data caps, flexible contracts with month-to-month or long-term options, built-in DDoS protection, and more. Explore services and request a free consultation at midco.com/business today. I've been a Midco user ever since I started Bennett Creative Media, and I've never had any qualms, never had any issues. So if you guys are looking to check that out, looking for some good internet and some other services that they have, midco.com/business can help you out. Okay, Lexi, so let's get back into the questions here a little bit. I want to talk about the customer experience. That's got to be important in your industry. How do you look at the customer or client experience when working with these guys on a day-to-day basis, or gals?
So it's so important to work with customers and what works for them. And I think that's really important to have those good connections and treat them well so they will come back and they'll give your name out to other people and have those people come to you.
So is it a lot of word of mouth then for the baking industry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you go about giving that customer? Do you call them customers or clients? Or
Sometimes,
both?
yeah, both.
Okay. So how do you go about giving these people that work with you that perfect experience? Is there anything actionable that you can give to people listening? Maybe, some things that you really try to focus on?
I think you really just have to work with them and their needs and what they want. And if they have an idea for a cake and you're like, you know what, this would actually work better. This would look better. I work better with this.
Yeah.
They'll really appreciate your honesty and what looks best for their event. And I'm always big about when I do deliveries, I go set up, I do all of these things. I try and talk to everybody just to get that connection.
So are you telling them these designs beforehand? Do they give you an inspo pick and then you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to kind of do? Or how does the process work? It's like, okay, I want a cake. Here's the inspiration picture. What does it look like after that?
Yeah. So after that, I kind of do okay, what flavor cake do you want? What size? And we work it all together. And I'm like, okay, well, since you want a smaller size, we should do less design than the picture.
Yeah.
Or if you want a bigger size, I recommend we should do this size if you're feeding this many people.
Okay.
Or a lot of the time for weddings, I had a wedding a couple weeks ago, 1,000 cupcakes. So they wanted a 2-tier cake. And I was like, I know you're not going to cut the whole thing because a lot of people don't eat the cake and they just want it for the wedding party.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I do 1-tier fake styrofoam and then 1-tier actual cake for the cake cutting. So you kind of just have to work with people with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's smart. And so that's things you kind of learn along the way, I suppose.
Yeah.
1,000 cupcakes. When did you wake up for that?
I didn't sleep.
That was probably the 40-hour day.
Yeah, it was rough.
So were there some things you learned business-wise that things you almost had to abide by? I'm thinking in my head right now, the Cottage Law. Does that apply to what you do? So
yes.
Were there some things, did you know those things in the beginning? How did you learn those things? Some rules you maybe have to follow.
Yeah, so I kind of learned that along the way, just looking up the law and learning from other people in the same industry. So with the Cottage Law, I can't ship anything and no business can sell my treats. So if a coffee shop wanted to sell my cookies, I have to physically be there to sell them myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is that North Dakota specific? Or just some
that
states?
one is North Dakota, and I know some states have other cottage laws.
Okay. Gotcha. So as far as the baking side of things, I want to get into the actual baking. So when you're these flavors, are you just going generic? Or are you concocting your own, or how do you figure out how to create these flavors and these cakes and these treats that people enjoy?
So I kind of did go generic of what I know.
Okay.
And then a lot of the time it's a customer asking, and I'm really open about trying new flavors.
Yeah.
Somebody had called me a couple of weeks ago and they're like, I want to try coconut mango. And I was like, that sounds so good. We're going to do that. And then I learned a lot in school. A lot of my friends, they're like, oh my gosh, I saw this flavor. You should try making this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So is it then you are just concocting your own coconut mango and then just taste testing it, or how does that work?
Yeah. So a lot of the time it's base recipes.
Okay.
So you kind of just go off of a vanilla recipe and you add a little bit of coconut and then you figure out a frosting to add mango into it.
Yeah.
And you kind of just go from there. So once you know the base recipes, it's easier to make your own.
That makes sense, rather than, well, I just got to start from scratch here. So experimenting with new flavors, then, are you ever in your free time let's see if we can get this going? Or do you kind of just leave it to the customer to say exactly what they want? Do a lot of people know what they want?
Yes, a lot of people do know what they want, but I do have some people that come to me and they have no idea what they want. And I'm like, well, these are the most popular flavors. Yeah. And if you have a lot of kids, I recommend this flavor.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I had a lot more time to experiment. And now it's kind of 1 or 2 days a month I have time. So
it's I'm just got to hammer out these cakes. I can't be messing around with whatever it is, pineapple, mango. So then, do you have some flavors that people really love? Do you double down on those?
Yeah.
What's the favorite, the most popular, whether it's cakes or, tarts or cupcakes, whatever it is?
So the basic vanilla and chocolate is always popular with people because they don't really want to steer away from that. Yeah. My favorite is white chocolate. It's a little bit of a twist from vanilla, which is my favorite. And a lot of people really love lemon, I have come to find. I didn't think a lot of people liked lemon. And now that I'm doing everything, a lot of people love lemon, and I recommend that to everybody now.
So is this true, or is this a fallacy? Is red velvet cake just chocolate cake with food coloring?
Yes, in a way. So it's a little bit less chocolate than a regular chocolate cake, but yes, it is.
Oh, that's just devastating because that's my favorite kind of cake, and Now I'm just realizing that it's just
Yeah.
chocolate cake.
It has a little bit less chocolate in it, but
Okay, maybe that's why I like it, because I don't like things too chocolatey.
Yeah.
It just gets wild.
Too much.
So marketing wise, then you mentioned word of mouth is pretty important in your business. What are some other marketing avenues that you're going down to grow Knead for Sweets?
Yeah. So recently I've been doing a lot of collabs.
Okay.
So soon I have a mommy and me baking class coming up with the flower shop with my friend Mandy.
Okay.
And right before then I'm doing a pop-up shop at Lexi Lou Floral. So you kind of just doing different collabs and all this stuff is a little bit more marketing.
How do you come up with these ideas or these opportunities?
So it all starts from the friendships with these people.
Yeah.
And then just like seeing different spaces. Like I did a styled shoot with Sarah Merck a couple of weeks ago. And the space that she did it in, I walked in, I was like, this is cool. Like,
Exactly.
I want to do something here. Yeah. So I had contacted the foundry and I was like, how do I get in there? I want to do it. So I texted my friend Mandy and I was like, we have to do something. Yeah. Like, that is so cool.
Is Mandy the owner of the foundry?
She's the owner of the flower shop who I'm doing the mommy and me class with. Gotcha.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. And I know you do a lot of photo marketing and stuff like that. Do you think that's important to put out there? Hey, here's this stuff that we've created before and that we can create for you. Or how do you go about the social media side? Because I know that's super important now in 2023.
Yeah, social media is very touchy. You don't want to say the wrong thing. And captions are hard. You know, like it's hard to come up with a cheesy caption that people are going to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot that has helped is my little sister now is doing photos for me.
Okay.
And I think the photo is a huge part of what you do. You can't just create a caption and be like, we're making coconut mango cakes now.
Yeah.
So having that picture and drawing clients in really helps.
Because, I mean, you can, as much as you can just take a quick shot of it and whatever lighting, it's cool to have those cool backdrops. I know we did a couple on some white backdrops, some white tables, that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see it in like an atmosphere where it's appealing to the eye rather than, oh, here it is on my kitchen counter. I got a toaster in the back. There's my Keurig, whatever it is. So that's why I think it's super important as far as the baking industry goes. You talked about relationships a little bit, building those relationships. How do you just reach out to people, or what is the best way that you found to start to build these relationships?
It's a little bit of both. So some of these people I've known for years, and then they decide to start their own business, or like I met Lexi Lou through my mom. So my mom knew her and she was like, she would love to do a collab with you. And I was like, okay, cool. So we started talking. I go and visit, like buy flowers, and we kind of just like went from there. So you kind of just know people from people, and it,
And that's where you learn to never burn the bridges, because you never know who knows who.
100%.
That's one thing I've learned. It's so-and-so knows so-and-so. That's the cousin of him. And then that's the baker of whoever else. And it's like, oh, okay. I don't know how I got that job, but it's just through knowing four people. And if there's one broken link, that's when it all goes to shit.
It's such a small town too. So it's so easy to like, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. And they say, any press is good press. Is that the saying?
Yep.
Well, not necessarily,
No,
especially, if something bad happens around here, it's hard to recoup that reputation.
Yeah, takes a while.
Yeah. So pivoting a little bit then into the community side of things, why do you think it's important that you live in a community that kind of supports businesses like yours?
I think Minot is so good about supporting local. So going from Boulder, which is an outskirts of Denver, their local businesses are harder to communicate with other ones and find them. People would rather just find a chain.
Yeah.
So I think here it's really good to support local because you know all these people. These are your cousins, your friends' cousins, like you said.
So do you think Minot's pretty good about that, supporting local then?
Yeah. I think we're getting a lot better with it too.
Yeah.
So I remember in the beginning of high school, I was like, I don't know if I open a bakery here, if I would even be successful. And I think now supporting local has become huge, which is amazing. Yeah,
I love all the local events that happen in Minot. Obviously, they have a lot of stuff going downtown, and there's always events that you can go there, and I see a lot of local businesses there, whereas, like you said, there's not too many chains that are around here that are participating in those sorts of things. What would you say the most rewarding aspect is of being a part of the Minot community and running a business here?
I think just how supportive the Minot community is. And growing up here, you have a lot of those connections already, which comes to your advantage in certain ways. And I think it's just the support that you have in Minot.
So only a couple more questions wow, I'm struggling today. Only a couple more questions for you here today. Future of Knead for Sweets. What does that look like? Are you wanting to open a bakery one day? Are you wanting to have a huge nationwide bakery where you got 50 locations. What does the future look like?
So up until probably a year ago, I had always wanted a storefront. I'm like, I'm going to have a storefront. I'm going to have the cutest display case, all this stuff. And now that I'm in the industry, I don't necessarily want that.
Yeah.
So I would love to just bake out of my house, out of my kitchen, the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I would love to get my house back. So I would love to like build a shop in my backyard or something.
Okay.
But I kind of like doing just specialty orders and not having a bunch of pastries made every morning.
Okay. So you're more so you want to work with the one-on-one clients rather than a storefront where people can come in and get whatever.
Yeah. I love the personal connections that I make. Yeah.
It is more fun that way when you can, because you can tailor it a little bit more if it's me working with Lexi rather than me working with 512 Lexis every single day.
Yeah.
So what's something that you wish you knew when you started that you know now? If you could go back and tell yourself.
Honestly, just like the experience of learning stuff. Like it definitely takes time to learn stuff. Looking back at pictures or Snapchat memories I get of a cake I made 3 years ago. I'm like, somebody paid for that?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of, I wish I had that right away, which you can't get right away.
Yeah.
But
you're like, oh, those cakes back then. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with videos.
Yeah.
I looked at a video I made for my uncle's business. I was like, oh my gosh. Can't believe they ever
that's
gave me a cent.
embarrassing. Like, I don't know why I had that out there.
I'm like, that needs to be scrubbed from the internet. Last question I got for you, Mount Rushmore of business advice. I got to get 4 pieces of advice from you. What are they? You listen to the show, Lexi. You know
I
this
know.
is coming.
I know. That's a tough one. Honestly, I'm just like, you need to put yourself out there. Putting yourself out there is so important. You need to build a community. You need to get to know all of the people in your community. Experience is huge. And just like treating people well. You can't be cranky with customers, blame customers for issues. And you just have to accept your defeat and move on.
Yep. Was that 4? I wasn't counting.
Honestly,
You're like, I think it was 4, actually.
Close enough, yeah.
Lexi, where can people find you? What's your pitch here? Where can they buy some treats from you?
Yeah, so you can contact me through Facebook, through Instagram. All of my phone and email info is on there. And I am currently in the process of building websites. So that will be up soon.
Perfect. And we will put those links in the description below for you guys to reach out to Lexi's Facebook, Instagram. And you can reach out to her. So if you guys are needing some treats or a cake for an upcoming wedding, feel free to reach out to Lexi. Lexi, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
That was episode 54 of the Minot Business Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And we will see you next week for episode 55.